The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 875. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. You can now purchase The Tao of Self-Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, Walmart, Indigo, and other major book retailers. Get your copy today. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to The Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing woman on the show today. She's a senior corporate recruiter responsible for building the Kelly Science, Engineering, Technology, and Telecom team with goals of equity and accessibility. She's also the moderator for our mentoring circle for the US PAC WISE program. And I'm so excited to have her on today to share her story and tips on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sabrina Alexis Sayoc. Sabrina, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
I'm doing well, Sheena, and thank you so much for having me. It's nice to meet everyone. My name is Sabrina, and I'm grateful to be here. During my day-to-day, I work in staffing and workforce solutions, where I really enjoy work equity, accessibility, and DEI initiatives as my priorities and values. Outside of work, I also love volunteerism, and you'll often find me contributing to the Filipino Young Leaders Program, Integrate for Good, the Women of Color and Staffing community, and of course, US PAC WISE as their inaugural mentoring circle moderator. Outside of work, I love my family. You'll also find me often with my two rescue pups, Honey and Baby, and my husband, who are my partners in everything I do.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And we're so grateful to have you as our moderator for the US PAC WISE program. It's so exciting to have something like this because it's definitely needed. And Sabrina, what's your cultural background?
I am born and raised in the U.S., raised in a culturally Filipino household. My parents are from the Philippines, so I very much embrace my Philippine and my American identity as the best parts of myself.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
So this is one that comes from my dad, who was a Filipino martial artist by trade and really a skilled professional there and developed an entire system. And something he would share with his students is this quote, trust in your training. And it comes from this idea that, we don't rise to our expectations, we fall to the level of our training. So when you get your training high enough, you can really trust on that to take you to the next step and get you through whatever situation.
I love that quote. That's the first time I've heard of it. And I mean, when it comes to confidence, like practice makes progress, right? So training is important, especially as a martial artist. I mean, you're not just going to kick once and then think you're a black belt. It takes a lot of practice, right? And it starts with that first kick. So I really love that quote that you mentioned. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
Well, rooted in that quote, for me, self-confidence is that acceptance and trust and love for yourself. And it's when you recognize who you are and all that work you put in, that training, it leaves little to no room for doubt in what you want to achieve and accomplish.
I love that great definition, and thanks for sharing that, Sabrina. And what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I think I'm very fortunate that with my family and my upbringing, I came with a pretty high standard of self-confidence with just so much love and support from my parents and my family. At the same time, was still a work in progress for me, and I didn't quite realize how stressful my life was before my actual sort of discovery. And I went through this more as I was first transitioning into my professional career, where I'm a first-generation professional, an underrepresented professional, and there are so many firsts that I experience and have to overcome, and tons of situations where I felt like the only one, where I've been the only one, that made me struggle with imposter syndrome and just feeling like I didn't belong. And I know that there were opportunities that I didn't pursue because I was that scared of rejection and failure. So it was stressful and it was limiting.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think we all felt that way, right? Especially coming to America and Canada, sometimes being the only person of color or being the only Asian woman in a room, it can be daunting, right? And we feel like, oh my gosh, the imposter syndrome kicks in, right? Feeling we're not good enough, or how did we even get here? But sometimes it can be a great thing because you can be like, I can be the first one to go out there and just make it happen. And I know rejection and failure can be another indicator of us not moving forward. But if we use that to our advantage, just imagine how much we can accomplish. Because regardless, we're going to get rejected, we're going to go through failures. But there are also the building blocks for confidence and courage. And what was that moment in your life when you felt confident, when you realized, I could do this regardless of the circumstances? I may be the first in everything, but I know I can get this done. I can be the confident person that I am today. What was that aha moment for you?
For me, this was pretty recently, actually, in 2021. So I'm very close with my family, and you'll hear me talk about them a lot because of how much it's shaped who I am and what my values are today. And one of the first points was that I lost my dad unexpectedly in 2017, and we were, of course, very close. And then I was a caregiver for my mom throughout 2021 while she was navigating a cancer diagnosis and treatment. And I'm grateful I got to be there with her every single step of the way, through every appointment, surgery, follow up. And thankfully, she's doing very well today and very healthy. But the thought of losing both my parents before I turned 25 was a huge wake up call for me. I was going through life, achieving and doing as I thought I was supposed to do. But it was that moment where I realized that nothing in life is guaranteed, not my health, not my money, not my time, nothing. And that told me that I need to be present in the moment and I need to enjoy the moment because tomorrow it's not always on the table.
Thanks for sharing that. And that's so true. Life is so short. We never know what's going to happen. And I had a similar situation where my aunt suddenly passed away, and she was able to do everything she ever wanted to do in her 50s, travel, go scuba diving, go skydiving. And when most people in that age, are thinking about retirement or settling down, she was the total opposite. And of course, family members are like, why are you doing that? You're too old. You're going to get hurt. But she was able to forge her own path in her own way. And so I realized after that, it's like I needed to do something for myself and create this impact and go out there and make it happen, because I didn't want to look back and regret anything, right? I can honestly say that I have done everything that I could ever want and have no regrets. Like if I left this earth tomorrow, no regrets. And I think that's very rare for a person to say. So I love, as unfortunate as it is that, your father passed away, it's also helped you realize your potential to go out there and be the person that you are today. And because of that, what's your life been like now?
It's been insane in the best way possible. Going through that reflection and that realization, I thought critically about my life, who I am and who I want to be. And a lot of people called this my quarter life crisis because I was 24, 25 at the time. And from that conversation, I realized that I want to be proud of myself all the time. And I want to, as you just shared, I don't want to live with regrets, and I want to make the most of the time that I do have right now. For me, I've always been very community oriented with big goals, and I've always strive to take advantages of opportunities where I could become my best self and make the greatest impact. But after this discovery, I realized that I really need to prioritize wellness on the journey and prioritize enjoyment on the journey. If I'm putting myself out there and wanting to make positive impacts on my community, I'm also thinking about the example that I'm setting. And so often our journeys get defined by struggle and defined by trauma and hardships. And those are all there. But for me, I want to highlight what happens when we're empowered and supported by community, when we take steps to prioritize ourselves, and that the journeys we go on, one, we don't have to do them alone, and two, we don't have to struggle as much as we might.
Thanks for sharing that. And if our listeners were tuning in to your episode and they're in a similar journey to self-confidence, what'd be that one tip you would give to them?
This is a tip I've been taking myself the past couple of years, and that's don't be the person who tells you no. There are so many barriers out there already, and don't let yourself be another one. For me, this was pursuing more of the opportunities that I wanted to and I'm passionate about, and overcoming that sense of fear and failure and rejection. And US Pac Wise, I think, is a great example of this, where a couple of years ago, if this opportunity had posed itself, I'm not sure I would have taken it. But I'm so grateful that, one, there was someone who referred me to Doris and Carolyn to be considered for the moderator position because she believed in me and my potential. And two, Doris and Carolyn were willing to challenge bias and stereotypes as to a traditional moderator profile and embrace someone who is more of an emerging leader than a tenured leader. So I'm grateful that I put myself out there, and an incredible new opportunity is coming from it. And worst case scenario, it didn't work out, and that would have been fine too. But I'm grateful it did.
I'm so grateful it did too. I'm glad you're our moderator. And yeah, sometimes you just have to say yes, even if you're scared, even if you think you're not qualified. I think as women, we have to realize we're more capable than we realize. And, sometimes you just gotta say yes, and we can literally figure it out along the way. I mean, we don't have to have everything 110% figured out, because men don't. Trust me. Men just go out there and do it. While women, we still overthink, we still resist a lot. And I'm guilty of it sometimes too, trust me. Like, even though I talk about confidence, like talking about confidence is super easy. I can go all day, but taking action is like a whole new thing. And so I push myself constantly. That's why having programs like US Pac Wise is so important, because we don't have to do this alone. We can do this together. And culturally, we've been told that asking for help is a sign of weakness or a handout, but it's not. This is how we can grow together and eradicate some of the big problems that women still go through today. So thanks for sharing that great tip.
Oh, I love that. And what it makes me think of too is how the role of our community, what the role of our community plays in our self-confidence. And something I like to share with people is, for me, it feels like I get to go through life with a safety net where I am so confident that there's no way I could possibly fail when there are people out there who love me this much and are believing in me this much and supporting me this much. They remove doubt for me. So thank you to my community, and thank you to everyone.
Awesome. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yes, please connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll also be able to find links to US Pac Wise, as well as my volunteer initiatives and programs, and I'll hope to connect with you then.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Sabrina, you can also head on over to thetowofselfconfidence.com and search for Sabrina's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I just want to thank Sabrina today for taking the time to share her story and wisdom with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Sabrina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to more self-confidence from everyone.
Not a problem. It was awesome to have you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetowofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.